If you've ever felt like patients forget what you tell them, don't follow your recommendations, or drift away after one visit, this episode will give you practical strategies to educate effectively without overwhelming yourself or them. So stick around. Welcome to the TCM Teach podcast, the business podcast designed exclusively for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine herbalists who want to build thriving, sustainable practices with patients who are engaged, loyal, and ultimately empowered. I'm Matthew Sabi Smith, licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, entrepreneur, yada, yada, yada. Today, we're diving into patient education, how to teach, guide, and communicate with your patients in a way that strengthens trust, improves outcomes, and keeps them coming back. So let's get started. But first, please remember, I'm simply a practitioner here to support you on your journey. The information shared in this podcast is intended for educational and learning purposes only, so for guidance specific to your business, please consult with the appropriate licensed professional. Thank you. So part one, here we go. Why patient education matters. Patients who understand their treatment and care plans are more likely to follow through with recommendations. It's an education thing, everybody. We know that. But does your patient understand that? When you start throwing terms like qi and yang and yin, did you relate that to a way they understand? Did it make sense to them? Or is the patient going to say, I don't know what that acupuncturist did. They just told me to work on my qi. And I'm like, I don't even know how to spell that. Okay, right? We don't want that. Well, ultimately, they're helping me reduce my inflammation so that way my back hurts less. So they told me this plan and these at-home care strategies that I can utilize, and how when I go in for the treatment, it ultimately speeds up the process of that. So that way we adjust as necessary to make sure that the treatment plan stays on track. There's a big difference there with patient education. We want patients who understand their treatment and their care plan. That is a must. Here's the plus side to that. Education is going to build their trust in you. It's going to build authority for you, and your patient is going to feel empowered. They're going to take the reins in their own condition. You are simply giving them all of the tools to make them successful. I also want to note, as a practitioner, sometimes it is very easy to take things on and think if a patient doesn't get better, that was on you. Sure, if you don't have the best technique on something and there's things to improve, of course, do that. However, patients should get homework. They should be told things to do on their own. And ultimately, you should be tracking if they are doing those recommendations or not. Because if they say, well, I'm just not getting better. Okay, well, are all the things I told you to do at home not working? Are the dietary recommendations not working? Are the herbs not working? Are the Qigong exercises not working? Yada, yada, yada. The more you give them gradually, not right at the first treatment, because then you'll intimidate them. But the more you give them, the more resources you give them, find the ones that they gravitate to and the ones they want to stick to, what's realistic for them. They will ultimately have more success, which gives you more success as a practitioner as well. You want to reduce no-shows. You want to increase treatment adherence. You want to make sure everything is running smooth in your clinic to help the patients and to help your business, of course. Knowledge that is shared thoughtfully is going to keep patients engaged and loyal. The last thing you want is a regular patient to come in where things get stagnant, where they don't even know where they're coming in anymore. If they don't know why they're coming in anymore, that's what I meant to say, why. If they don't know why they're not coming in anymore, then hopefully you're reminding them or checking or doing your 10 questions over to make sure that you find what imbalances are presenting that day to balance them out again. Keep that in mind. Don't ever take a patient for granted. I can't stress that enough. So how do you teach without overwhelming patients? You want to prioritize 1 or 2 key points per visit. Maybe just 1 for certain people. Even if people want a million things at once, the question is, are they going to be able to apply all of those things? You want to use plain language, and you want to avoid the technical jargon, which you've heard me mention in many episodes of the past. You want to incorporate visuals if you can, handouts or diagrams for reinforcement. The internet's really great for that, everybody. If you have something that is a downloadable PDF or a YouTube video or a small course online that you could sell for a couple dollars, they're going to take you up on that. Of course, they want to get better. You want to encourage questions, and you want the whole experience to be interactive. But it doesn't have to be at the expense of your personal time. You just want to answer their questions and concerns. Is there anything else I can answer for you today? It's pretty straightforward. It's easy. If you have someone who's constantly a talker, I have about 2 more minutes to answer questions if you have anything. And then when the 2 minutes is up, move on. Very simple technique. Patients are going to retain more when learning is digestible and actionable. Think about when you were in school. Did you do better if you were given a whole textbook and told, okay, test at the end of the semester? Or did you do better when it was presented to you bit by bit so you could digest it? I have a feeling if you went to school, which if you're listening to this, you had to. If you went to school, you needed someone to break down the concepts for you, to understand the material. That's how it made it more digestible. And then you probably got resources or homework or study materials or something. So those were your action steps to take to understand the information further. You could do the same thing with patients, just on a very simplified scale. You want to educate across multiple touch points. In person, during visits. That's obvious. I'm sure most of you do that. Email follow-ups or newsletters. I'm sure some of you do that. But is it direct to the patient, to your patients? Sometimes yes, sometimes it's just extra information, which can be great. It can be enriching. But is it ultimately giving you ROI on your business? That's the question. Social media posts or short videos. I go back and forth on this one. Free can be good. Social media time, maybe this is just my opinion. Take what you want from it. But social media is really for when you have time to try and get other patients, or if you're trying to do something online, because ultimately you don't have to go to people all around the world just to get people into your clinic in a town, wherever you are. Handouts and digital guides. I like that one. I do like that one a little more. Handouts and digital guides. Digital guides, they don't take paper. They're easy to send, share, download. I'm also a fan of if you make a mini course, you can sell it for a couple dollars. Or if you make a big course, you could sell it for a lot more. It's an add-on service and product to your clinic. And those can be ways to actually leverage your clinic further to make more money. The idea here is I wanted to cover common things that I've seen. And I wanted to also throw in my little bit of business knowledge and opinion of, is this ultimately beneficial? You can do all of those things, by the way. It's great to educate about Chinese medicine. I think it's wonderful. I do see a lot of people saying the same things over and over again, which is fine. But it's also good if you have a niche a little bit and you really focus on that. For example, you're on this podcast, not just for Chinese medicine, you're on this podcast because you want to learn about Chinese medicine business. It's much more of a niche rather than me just talking about Chinese medicine all the time. So repetition across channels is going to reinforce learning and increase trust. Start with one, see if it works, go from there. I also want to mention, outside of handouts or digital guides, if you write a book or an ebook, those could be great too. I wonder if I missed anything here in my notes. Anyway, those are a good start. Using education to build loyalty. That's my next section that I have written down. Teach patients about why treatment works and what to expect. This can be harder if you see multiple patients per hour, but if you get your script down, it can be pretty straightforward still. Just tell them what you're doing in plain layman's terms and what to expect, and reasons they should call you if something seems off. You want to empower them with self-care tips or lifestyle advice, of course. Do not forget all of the modalities of Chinese medicine. Invite them to track progress. Small wins are going to reinforce commitment. So if their pain is really bad when they come in, get it on a scale. Scale of 1 to 10. Where does it hurt? 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Oh, it's on a 7 today. Okay, write that down. So then when they come back the next time, oh, where's your pain today? Oh, it's really bad, doc. It's killing me. It's like a 6 out of 10. Oh, 6 out of 10. That's actually better than last week. Really? Yeah, because it was a 7 out of 10 last week. Huh. So then they automatically see there's progress. If you work with a lot of GI stuff or you are working with cycles, especially for female patients, it's good to keep journals, like food journals. It's good to keep BBT charts, especially for things like fertility. Just get a way to have them buy in to their own care. And if you do that, you're going to have a very successful time working with that patient, and it's going to be more rewarding and more fun as a result. If they are working with pain, okay, have them write down their pain and what they did that day or what they ate. Okay, so invite them to track their progress. Small wins are going to create more commitment. Patients feel cared for and valued as a result. If they actually have more buy-in, they care more about their own care when they also feel like you're caring for them more. I know that's a little confusing, but the idea is they feel like you are their teammate, helping them on their journey, which you should be. You want to encourage repeat visits and referrals. That's a good thing. Word of mouth is going to be the best thing to grow your practice. Perhaps that's my opinion, but that's truly what I think, because word of mouth, oh, my friend went to go see this person and he fixed me up in like X amount of treatments. Now I just see him because it feels good every month. Great. Get people on repeat to make them feel good, because we know Chinese medicine is a very good treatment just for balance as well, not just when there's a huge problem. So with patient education, obviously we're using the yi, our intellect here, and we're using the shen. Kind of think of it as our presence. Teaching is good when we are focused on clarity, empathy, and authenticity, because that's going to enhance our healing relationship with the patient. And we want to align our educational strategies with the clinical philosophies and values that you speak about. So if you are very research based, then you better be providing research on solutions you're giving to the patient. If you are if you focus on gut balance or gut imbalances and fixing gut imbalances, then you better be giving a lot of dietary advice, both Chinese medicine or TCM nutrition as well as Western nutrition. If you're certified, I know that varies in a lot of states, but wherever you are, make sure it's legal. You just want to make sure things are aligned, is what I'm trying to say. Patient education is not just about information. They can get information anywhere. They want information that is from you. It's a connection to you. It's a connection to your integrity. They get all the information they want on the internet, in books, whatever. They buy into your philosophy and your care philosophy. How do you reinforce that with the education that you provide them as well? So what are some practical tips for consistent education? You can create a list of core topics to cover with every patient. I imagine most of you veterans out there do that already. You can develop handouts or digital guides for repeated use. Again, I like the idea of the internet because you can just send it. You don't have to make sure you have a bunch of physical things on hand. And then you can schedule follow-ups and reinforce the key points. If they were in pain, what's the pain scale? If they are having GI issues, what does their food journal say? If they're dealing with a lot of depression, did they keep a journal of the days they felt really bad and the days they felt really good and what they ate or what they did that day? So find ways to reinforce what they're working on, make them buy into it. Use patient stories or case examples, obviously maintaining HIPAA compliance. You just want to illustrate the lessons. I remember when I had a patient who did XYZ and they still got better when I did this treatment. Okay, that's legal. You can do that. You just can't use names or identifying information. You should know this already. I shouldn't have to tell you this. So, a consistent approach is going to save time and it's going to improve patient outcomes. So, a little bit can go a long way. If you make a digital resource, you make it one time and you can give it or sell it to patients over and over again. Patient education is ultimately a cornerstone of a thriving clinic. It is actually a huge potential addition to potential revenue as well if you make small courses to share with patients. Oh, how much is your course? Oh, $5, $10, $20. If it's a mini course, a big course, oh, it's $50. Oh, it's $100. If it's like an all-intensive group thing, oh, it's for people who are seriously dedicated. It's $1,000. But I mean, seeing how much you've been in here, I think you're really going to benefit from it. And I'll even throw in a small discount. I'll make it, I don't know, $850 for you if you buy it this week, something like that. And there's plenty of ways to market and do sales. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast, right? You just want to make sure that you're educating thoughtfully. You want to increase trust and you want to encourage adherence. You want to make sure they stick to the plan. This is going to keep them engaged. You want to create long-term relationships that benefit both you and the patient. Everybody wins when a patient succeeds. And hopefully, if you are maintaining your boundaries, you are succeeding in your clinic too. So if you want to have some materials on this, the things we talked about in this episode, make sure you go to the Practitioner Hub in the TCM Teach Patreon. That is how you can support me and what I do on this podcast. It keeps me going. That is a way that I continue my education and give you more success as a result. Therefore, like I was saying in this episode, everybody wins. So I'm going to provide a companion resource talking about the different things that we went over in this episode. So stay tuned for that. And in our next episode, we're going to dive into building a marketing calendar for your clinic. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And until then, thank you for tuning in to the TCM Teach podcast, and we will see you next time.